Welcome to Watching Washington, a public affairs program from the Brian Lamb School of Communication at Purdue University. It's Sunday, November 9th, and I'm Connor Sutterly.
And I'm Adam Cox. Here's a recap of the top stories this week.
The 2025 election results are in. Virginia has elected Abigail Spanberger, Democrat, as governor. She will be Virginia's first woman governor. Spanberger focused her campaign on DOGE cuts and cost of living. New Jersey has elected Mikey Sherrill, Democrat, as governor. Sherrill will be the first female Democratic governor in the state's history. She revolved her campaign messaging around opposition to Trump and his agenda, as well as cost of living concerns. New York City has elected Zohran Mamdani, Democratic Socialist, as mayor. Mamdani is to become the city's first Muslim and person of South Asian descent to be mayor. He is also the youngest in over a century to hold the position.
California voters approved Prop 50 on Tuesday. This means that new congressional district boundaries have been approved, a victory for Democrats in the state-by-state redistricting battle. Midterm elections typically punish the party in the White House, and Trump is fighting to maintain his party's House majority. As of Friday, November the 7th, the government has been shut down for more than 38 days, making it the longest government shutdown in United States history. The second longest government shutdown was during President Donald Trump's first term and lasted 35 days. At the moment, neither side can find agreeable terms to get the government back up and running. The Senate has attempted a vote to end the shutdown 14 times thus far, and none have been successful.
Two judges ruled Monday that the Trump administration must dip into their emergency funds in order to pay for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP. Rhode Island federal Justice Jack McConnell assisted the administration to investigate whether or not they could use funds from other accounts to fully fund SNAP for the month. Despite the judge's rulings, the administration stated that they would only cover half of the total cost of keeping SNAP benefits this month. They also told McConnell they would decline to use funds from the Child Nutrition Program to fully fund SNAP. House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke on the difficulties the government faces in distributing the funds.
Remember, the contingency fund only has roughly $5 billion, and it costs roughly $9 billion for a month of SNAP benefits. So I think the arrangement is they're going to give half, at least half, to everyone. But here's the problem: it's very complex, is that it's administered through the states, and you have to recalculate all the allocations and how the checks go out. It's not, you can't just flip a switch and do that.
Despite the administration's wishes, McConnell ruled in a hearing on Thursday that the administration must fully fund SNAP for the month.
Lines to clear TSA security were outside the doors at Bush Airport in Houston, Texas over the weekend. Travelers were encouraged to arrive to the airport 4 to 5 hours early, as only 2 of the usual 9 TSA checkpoints were open. However, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy stated the delays are keeping travelers safe. Because of the government shutdown, airport workers have gone a month without pay, and many are calling in sick. Even with the reduced workforce, TSA is working to provide the same level of security and safety, hence the delays. Some airlines are providing meals for those that still show up to work. According to Reuters, the situation of TSA workers is better than the last government shutdown in 2019, as pay and benefits were improved under the Biden administration. Until the government shutdown ends, travelers are advised to travel light and to avoid bringing and wearing articles that will cause holdups in security.
The White House is facing criticism after sending federal employees mixed messages about pay during the ongoing government shutdown. Furloughed workers, now totaling more than 650,000, may not be guaranteed back pay, despite a 2019 law that protects their wages. One message obtained by the Washington Post told staff, quote, "Once an appropriation or continuing resolution is enacted, accepted employees are entitled to receive payment," end quote. The notice made no mention of furloughed workers, unlike earlier agency notices. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said back pay is still under negotiation.
Does the administration guarantee that all furloughed workers will get back pay?
This is something we are very much open to discussing with Democrats as part of the discussions about the continuing resolution to keep the government open, and it's something that Republicans are talking with Democrats about right now. I won't get ahead of those negotiations or discussions.
The pay uncertainty for furloughed workers is just one of many challenges the government faces as the record shutdown continues.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney passed away due to cardiovascular issues and pneumonia. Cheney began his career in politics in 1969, and he stayed involved as a political figure until the day he died. He was known for being an exceptionally influential vice president during the presidency of George W. Bush. He served 2 consecutive terms alongside former President Bush. Dick Cheney was 84 years old at the time of his passing, and he is survived by his wife and 2 daughters.
President Trump has nominated Jared Isaacman for the second time to be the administrator of NASA. The original nomination was dropped in May. The cancellation corresponded with Elon Musk cutting ties with the Trump administration. Isaacman, who traveled to space twice in SpaceX missions, and his nomination had received support from Musk. According to the New York Times, Isaacman, a self-made billionaire, has resigned from his company, Shift4, as well as sold his aerospace investments and canceled contracts with SpaceX to avoid conflicts of interest in his new role. Trump stated on a Truth Social that his, quote, passion for space, astronaut experience, and dedication to pushing the boundaries of exploration make him ideally suited to lead NASA into a bold new era. Isaacman will enter his new role amid budget cuts and reduced staff at NASA. He will lead the organization as it launches the next Artemis missions to the moon and competes with China for dominance in space and technology.
Recently in Indiana, lawmakers were supposed to meet for a special session to discuss redistricting and tax codes. Legislative leaders announced this meeting has now been pushed back until the first week of December. It has been confirmed in this session they will consider new congressional maps and tax code tweaks. Many speculate that cost was a factor. The state's last special session lasted 2 weeks and cost taxpayers about $240,000. More details on the December session days will be revealed in the coming weeks. State Attorney General Todd Rokita has called upon President Trump to send the National Guard to Indianapolis. This follows after a violent weekend downtown where at least 10 people were shot in 3 separate incidents. Rokita says, "We need law and order restored. President Trump should absolutely add Indianapolis to his list of cities to send the National Guard to."
The Supreme Court is hearing arguments in a case challenging President Donald Trump's global tariff program. The case could define the scope of U.S. Presidential authority, U.S. trade policy, and government revenue. Trump used the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose tariffs on goods imported from dozens of countries without congressional approval. A group of businesses and several states argue that Congress, not the president, has the power to levy taxes. Justices questioned whether the tariffs are regulatory or constitute taxation reserved for Congress, but plaintiffs say the declared emergencies do not meet the law's standard. The case raises questions about future trade policy and the balance of power between the executive branch and Congress. The court has not set a decision date, but a ruling is expected before June 2026. Up next, we have international news updates from Mexico, Sudan, Nigeria, and China.
Plus, our Purdue Roundup for the week. Stay with us. More Watching Washington next.
Imagine a world where Olympics and Paralympics are unified as one, and where all athletes at all levels have equal opportunities to play and perform at their full potential.
Athletics has been such an influential and transformative aspect of my life. So to me, RISE is about ensuring that every person that has the desire to participate in sport has the opportunity to do so.
This organization is about recognition. We believe in recognizing excellence where it is found, especially in Paralympic sports.
RISE is about driving change in our community and beyond. We hope that through our events and initiatives, we can galvanize people for our cause and inspire them to create an ever-growing network to help achieve our mission.
It's about connecting people of various backgrounds and who truly care about creating meaningful change together.
We develop projects and hold events to bring people together at the interface of inclusivity, sports, and engineering.
Our goal is to promote the equality of all sports and to improve sports performance and accessibility.
Join us so that you can have a major contribution in creating meaningful change.
Mexico has faced a week of political violence. During a Day of the Dead festival, the mayor of Uruapan, Carlos Manzo, was publicly assassinated. A strong critic of organized crime in Mexico, Manzo's assassination has spurred protests across the country demanding an end to violence. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has publicly addressed the incident.
Is underway. In addition to the arrests already made, including one individual who was killed during the events, the Michoacan prosecutor's office is leading the inquiry with full backing from the Federal Security Cabinet. As I assured his family and now reiterate publicly, there will be no impunity. The investigation will continue until both the direct perpetrators and those who ordered this execution are brought to justice.
President Sheinbaum has also been a victim of harassment this week. While speaking in Mexico City, she was approached by a visibly intoxicated man who attempted to kiss and touch her. The president was seen in social media videos gently pushing the man away with a stiff smile. Her security detail was not visible in the videos, raising questions. Later that day, Sheinbaum met with the widow of assassinated Mayor Manzo as investigations continue.
Thousands were killed in Sudan and Nigeria last week as a result of two ongoing genocides. In Sudan, the Sudanese paramilitary group known as the RSF began a killing spree targeting hospitals, churches, and homes. With the violence so severe, blood can be seen through satellite images from space. The death toll is estimated to be around 150,000 people, with that number increasing every day. Nigerians are faced with similar circumstances as Islamic terrorist groups continue to massacre Christians. Despite reports of mass killings, the Nigerian government has denied that any Christians have been targeted and killed. President Donald Trump said in a recent statement that if Nigeria does not put an end to the genocide, he will consider military action against the terror groups and cut any aid to Nigeria.
They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. And they have other countries very bad also. You know that part of the world, very bad. They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.
Following Trump's visit to the Asia-Pacific Economic Corporation Summit last week, China has decided to extend its suspension of an additional 24% tariff on U.S. goods for 1 year. Trump also agreed to cut tariffs on Chinese imports from 20% to 10%. These tariff agreements will be effective November 10th. However, these actions seem to be at odds with what Chinese leader Xi Jinping said in a speech at the summit. Jinping said the APEC economies should, quote, oppose protectionism, resist unilateral bullying, and prevent the world from returning to the law of the jungle. This statement would explain China's recent control on rare earth mineral exports. This pushes the U.S. to rely on China for materials such as magnets and other related technologies. All of these actions represent the ongoing tariff and trade tensions between the U.S. and China.
It's now time for the Purdue Roundup, where we give you news on what is happening across campus. Campus Transit expanded its bus routes after receiving negative student feedback. Both the Ross-Ade and Purdue Mall Loop have been extended further into the center of campus to reduce the need for students to transfer buses. 3 bus stops have also been added near the residence halls to compensate for the City Bus 41 connector loop, which was suspended in October. These new bus routes will help students navigate around campus safely and more efficiently during the upcoming winter months.
Our guest this week is Johnny Miller.
The full interview just ahead on Watching Washington.
Hola from Spain. G'day, mates.
Buenos dias.
Bonjour.
Hello from South Korea.
I'm studying abroad in Valencia, Spain this semester.
I'm studying abroad in Sydney, Australia. I'm studying abroad in Madrid, Spain.
I'm studying at Seoul National University.
At ISAE Supero in Toulouse, France.
And I'm really getting to enjoy meeting all the new people and the culture.
How different it is from Purdue University.
It is an absolutely fantastic experience.
I'm living my best life.
I can't wait to see you guys all overseas soon. A bientôt.
Adios.
Nos vemos de España.
I'm Rachel. I'm 19 years old. I'm a sophomore in computer engineering here at Purdue, and I'm the president of DAO. So DAO stands for Dance All Out, and it's kind of like a community where all dancers of different skill levels and artists have a space to express themselves and be artists and perform. We perform at things like the AAA Night Market and the VA, the Variation Showcase, at the end of the semester. We even had our own showcase last year, and that was really exciting. DAO not only offers like weekly classes and performance opportunities, but kind of like a really strong community / family to do it with. When people talk about college, or when you see in like coming of age movies, it's all about like the main character finding like the place where they belong, whether it's in school or like extracurricular or like with their friends or another hobby. But like this could be the place where you find like your coming of age moment, and like it could be the place where you discover like a big part of your life.
We have a special guest with us this week.
Johnny Miller is the personal assistant to Indiana Governor Mike Braun. Let's go now to Watching Washington's Stella Fisher, who is standing by with this week's interview.
So today we have this week's interview guest, Johnny Miller, Indiana Governor Mike Braun's personal assistant, to share some aspects of his job as well as background. So we're going to go through a few questions, starting with, what is your educational background and how did you first get involved in politics?
So I grew up in Maryland, went to high school in Maryland. I went to a Catholic school there. I moved to the Evansville area, went to Oakland City University for 4 years, got my bachelor's in business management and minored in philosophy. And I moved out here for golf and then stayed out here. And then I got started in politics pretty much the same time that you did, interning for the Indiana Republican Party.
Absolutely. Okay, so then my next question leads me to, what led you to working for Governor Braun specifically?
Yeah, it just kind of happens. So I started interning for the state Republican Party, and I started on primary election day right after my graduation in 2024. And so a lot of menial tasks, just working on spreadsheets and what have you. And then after state convention is when I got asked if I would want to drive then Senator Braun. And of course, I did not say no to that. It's a pretty cool experience. I thought it was just going to be a one-off and drive him for 2 days, stay overnight somewhere. But I just kept doing it. So they just kept asking me to do it. So I kept driving him. Next thing I know, they offered me a full-time job on the campaign. I started staffing him, becoming a full-time staffer, and also his driver when he wasn't in DC. So I spent a lot of time with him, and we got along well. About the same time they offered me the full-time staffing job, I actually got a job offer from Representative Houchin as well. But I liked Senator Braun, so I stuck with him. I think we had a lot in common, and we could actually talk about things in the car. So I got lucky with my politician that I was given, and that helped. That went a very long way to getting to where I am now.
Absolutely, yeah. I remember when we were at the state convention as well and got to see him actually be elected. So I think that's cool for you to see his whole trail, you know?
Yeah, through all of it, and I didn't know him much. Like I met him at an event prior to convention, and then I was at a campaign ad shoot that I volunteered for, and I met him there. But once you start driving him, you're stuck with him for like 14, 16 hours a day. And so you really just, you get to know each other. And we spent a lot of time those months leading up to the general election. And it worked out. Apparently, I was likable enough to keep me around.
That's awesome. All right, so we'll move to the next question. What does a typical day in your role look like?
I would say that there's not a typical day. Every day is different. So, you know, I'm at the governor's residence right now, and if there's one thing that's consistent, it's my day typically ends here, bringing anything that he needs for the next day, whatever that might be. But it varies. So, like, my day might start at 9 a.m., but it could also, you know, I've had it start at 4 or 5 a.m. before, or I have to show up here early and set up something or show up here and go travel. So I'll either drive to the residence or to the state capitol. But throughout the day, every day is different. It's actually one of my favorite things about the job is that there is no consistency necessarily. And so you have to go with the flow, but I enjoy that.
So you kind of have to be on standby a little bit with the governor. So if anything comes up, you know how news cycle ebbs and flows, something could happen randomly and you have to be like ready to go, get to wherever you need to be quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Politics tends to be pretty volatile.
Absolutely.
And with Braun's schedule too, you're going to mirror the politician. So Governor Holcomb was very different. I've met his body men before, his personal assistants, and it was a very different job for them. So mine tend to be, I think, a little bit more administrative as well, whereas they mostly just kind of travel. So I'm not with him right now, and he's at an event because there's other things I have to get done. So trying to balance those things is kind of difficult, but it typically does work out.
That actually leads me on to another question I had, which kind of relates to what we're talking about. But how do you manage the pace and the pressures that come with this job? Because I know it's super hectic, especially right now with redistricting. What are some things that you do to manage that?
It's a tough one. You know, I think on weekends, if I'm not having to do anything, I like to try to find time to go. For me, therapy is golf. I played competitive golf in college, and sports were my entire life. So that was one of the hardest things was giving that up. And so trying to find time to get back into those things, even if it's just going to the range for 30 minutes in the dark at the end of the day, it can help, at least for myself, help me reset. And also, I think I always wanted a career that was kind of more high pressure. Otherwise, I struggled with just doing something menial and doing the same stuff every day and working a 9 to 5. So I'm kind of doing what I want to do. And that's something I've always looked for. And with sports, I think that helped me a lot. Just having that grind to be the best person that you can be, and going through it, even if you're tired or, you know, you're going to be worn out. But I enjoy that a little bit.
Absolutely. I think that's important for people to hear, especially if they have an interest in jobs within government, is sometimes I feel like it can be sugar-coated and look very fabulous and very, you know, how the media makes it seem, but once you're actually in it, it's the constant grind of back-to-back work, late nights, early mornings, all of the above. So, yeah, I hope that
Yeah.
this interview kind of showcases that for students that watch and have an interest in a position like yours someday.
Yeah.
All right, so another question I have for you is, what's something about working in the government that would surprise most people? It's another hard one.
I think that um, it definitely varies. So every agency is going to be a little bit different. Every statewide candidate is going to be a little bit different. Something that's surprising is I think the amount of younger people that work quite often and carry a lot of the workload is very surprising. I mean, most of the staff tends to be in their mid to younger 20s. So I'm 23 myself, and I'm kind of far from even being the youngest person in the room most of the time, which is interesting. I mean, senior staff's going to be a little bit different. A lot of the decision makers are going to be a lot older and more seasoned, but the amount of young people that carry a lot of the workload is surprising. And maybe it shouldn't be, because we have less responsibilities. We don't have kids or families. And so we can be a little bit more flexible and take orders from the older staff. But I think that's surprising. And I hear it from a lot of people too, when they first get into politics or work for a statewide candidate, how much that age range between 20 and 25 do for every single office is insane. I think a lot of people too are just trying to grind and make their name known and solidify a job. So I think that might be part of it, but I think that's definitely surprising, and it surprised me at first as well.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Because I feel like the stigma with government politics working in that realm is it's all older people and older generations. And I honestly think it's awesome that there is a large range of ages, but especially with youth, because it shows the interest. And without, the youth being interested in politics and government, we wouldn't be able to build and we wouldn't be able to have what we have today. Because at some point, all of those older people, they were our age too, grinding and working hard to be where they are at now. So I think it's awesome that the younger generation is into politics and inspired by it, because I mean, I definitely am, and it's cool to see where you've gone as well. It being you're at your age, you're still very young, so
yeah.
Alrighty. Next we will go to, what advice would you give to someone who wants to work in the government one day?
So I don't know much about a lot of different agencies and what it's like to work there, but definitely in politics in general. I mean, I have spent, I guess, since I started, about half my time on a campaign, and so that's very different in working for the Republican Party than working in government on the official side. But I think nonetheless, you can pick up the same principles and values, and the number one thing is working hard, anticipating other people's needs. When you start working in politics, you're just going to be stuck with menial tasks. And the amount of interns that I've seen quit in the last 8 months alone because they felt like they didn't deserve to have those tasks. They felt like they should do more things. And it almost felt like a smack in the face to them, but it's not. If you can't do a menial task and you can't prove that you can do such a thing as that, whether it's answering phones or working on spreadsheets all day and just plugging numbers, they're not going to hire you for a higher position. I mean, that's just not the case. If you can't do the small tasks, they're not going to trust you with bigger tasks. Just be in the moment, and that's part of anticipating other people's needs. Don't be on your phone. I think that's a big thing with young people. And when I see interns come in, and I try to help them and say, put your phone away. Like, if someone, I don't care personally, but if someone from senior staff sees you on the phone, it's going to come across as lazy or disconnected. And so that's not great. And I think being the first one in, last one out actually has meaning to it. Sometimes you're going to be stuck doing nothing. That's okay. As long as you're there and ready to help, that goes such a long way. And it's amazing how many young people that really actually do have that passion and drive to break into politics can't, because they come across as arrogant. And for many of these people, it's, their parents owe their employer a favor or something. And they get hired and they'll be okay. They have the connections and they're kind of born into that network. But it's going to be much more difficult if you just don't sit down with yourself and say, I'm going to work hard, and it doesn't matter how I got this job. I'm going to prove that I'm the best person at this, right? I think looking at it from a competitive standpoint can be helpful sometimes. Work with your team, but you should strive to be the hardest worker there, especially when you're younger and you don't have a family and external responsibilities. Um, you can actually really bolster your career off your beginning if you just simply put your head down and work. And I think that's such a struggle for the younger generation. Um, I mean, I guess I missed this in an earlier question, just how many interns come and go that got their job because their parents,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I've seen that in the past at different organizations and agencies, even. And funny enough, a lot of those people don't stay long. I had zero connections when I came to Indiana politics. I knew nothing about Indiana politics.
For sure.
I voted in Maryland every election up until now, and starting fresh on a clean slate was very intimidating. And so I'm going to take that opportunity that I'm given, which I think if you get an internship, that's an opportunity. It's not that the door is wide open for you. The door is cracked and you need to open it. And you can only do so by proving yourself and working hard, being competent and articulate. Don't be blindly loyal, but do what you're told. Otherwise, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to build a network.
Very nice. Alrighty. Next question we'll move to is, what's the most rewarding and most challenging part of your job?
Most rewarding, I think, having the opportunity to have a more high pressure job. I just, as I mentioned earlier, I really enjoy that. Having as much face time as I do with the governors, I mean, it's neat. I still think it's super cool. And when I started working with him as a senator, I just couldn't believe it, because I didn't think I'd move to a position where I actually get FaceTime with someone like that often and get to pick their brain. So those are some of the most rewarding parts, I think. Just working in something I'm passionate about, and hopefully can create a more prosperous Indiana, and being part of that. I'm not making any decisions. I'm not high up at all, but
You're
just
part of
being
the
part of that, part of the process, and working towards a common goal. I love that. And working with a team towards the exact same agenda is super fun to me. The most challenging part, I think the long hours can be really challenging because it adds up, especially if you get very little sleep many nights in a row. It starts to hit you, and it really hit me on the campaign when I was working about 80 hours a week and traveling. I was never home, and it really, that burnout hit me after about 3 months, and I've never felt that before. I always worked long hours, and through high school I worked 2 to 3 jobs, and then college in the summers I'd work 2 to 3 jobs. During the school year I typically take about 21 credit hours. I'd have a part-time job, and then I played golf. And so I've never really experienced burnout before, because I love it and I love being busy. But it definitely hit me, and it was hard to deal with for a period of time, because I was like, I've never felt this before. So trying to mitigate that through other things. I mean, during the campaign, I didn't golf for 6 months.
Yeah.
And prior, I golfed every day. So now trying to implement those things is super important. But those are some of the biggest challenges. And then sometimes there are big demands. Like tonight would be a night where there are some big demands.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to stay late and make sure I get those things done, because I'm not working towards my own goal. I'm working towards the entire team's goal.
Is there anything you can share that you're working on right now specifically? Like summarize maybe?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm doing some constituent work. There were a couple of Eagle Scouts that, they just recently became Eagle Scouts. And so we were supposed to send a letter to them congratulating them. And I just found out that it didn't get sent. So now I'm going to try to alleviate that. And then working on, preps and briefings for the governor tomorrow. That's, of course, super important. And I understand that a lot of senior staff has family to go to, and they have familial obligations. And so I am perfectly fine staying and making sure it gets done. And of course, the governor's busy right now. So I'm not upset. I'm not at the event. I'm perfectly fine working on my computer from here.
Absolutely.
So,
do you think that working for Braun has kind of inspired you to stay in politics and push that career forward, or do you think you might want to switch to something different at some point?
I think I'll likely stay in politics. I've become very fond of Governor Braun, and we've become friends in many ways, and we'll talk. And definitely for him, I've seen particular politicians where there's almost this drive for hierarchy and just being in a higher role. I don't see that out of him. I've never seen it out of him, and he is very principled. I love that. So some of the menial tasks I still do, and this is just to show his principles, is he doesn't waste food, for example. He doesn't like disposable plates. So I'll often get him his lunch, but I'm also going to be cleaning his dishes after he eats because he doesn't want to waste. He doesn't want to use paper or plastic plates. I might not have an issue with that, but I do enjoy that he's principled and like, no, this is wrong. I don't want to destroy the earth. I don't want to waste food. It is very refreshing to me.
Absolutely. I think it's important too for people that are from Indiana to hear those things about him because we only see, what's on the news and what's, in the media. So to hear some more personal things like that is really nice to kind of humanize him in a way, if you will.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You only see one side.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, those are all the questions that I had today for you. So I appreciate you coming on and being a part of the show this week and answering all of my questions, but I'll let you get back to your busy work schedule and hope to talk to you soon.
All right. I'll see you. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
That's all the time we have today. Thank you to our guest, Johnny Miller, for being with us.
And thank you for watching. See you next time on Watching Washington.